We are live.
What is up, everybody? Episode 11. We got 78 points with us tonight. We got Furbird the Nerd, and we got Mr. Pepe Maxe himself, fucking Ralph.
Let's
So,
go.
Vinny and our homeboy Marcus are still out for a couple more weeks handling some business, but we're hoping to get those back in a couple weeks, be back at full strength. But we're ready to. We got some good stuff to talk about tonight. We're not gonna be too long of a podcast. We're gonna hit some stuff and let people get on with their evening. But we appreciate y'all spending some time and hanging out with us. Like I said, let's get the chat popping. The chat's been really good the last 4 or 5 weeks. And if you got some opinions or you got anything to say, talk some shit. How was y'all's week been?
I mean, like I was telling you, just busy as fuck. The same here, 78. Work.
Yeah, work. I was in another city on Tuesday. One of those day trips, leave at like crack of dawn, come back at night.
Mm-hmm.
Those wrecked me, man.
Dude, 78, that Optimus Prime fucking photo you posted.
Oh,
Yeah,
like that?
dude.
Oh, really?
Dude,
Whoa.
yeah, it was awesome.
Gasoline on top of fucking jet fuel.
So yeah, it's an old figure. That's an old one. But the boys on the Lost Cause are like, because we were talking about the other figures that are coming out in this line, and so I backtracked and picked it up. It doesn't transform, it doesn't change, but that's why it moves so well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it moves like insane.
Dude, there was that Starscream that Omar posted last week.
It belongs to this one.
The one.
That's why
I loved it.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if it transformed or not. I didn't want to ask the stupid question. I assumed it didn't because it didn't show anything in a F-14 form, or excuse me, no. Starscream was an F-15, wasn't he?
F-15, I believe. Yeah.
And I didn't think it transformed, but just the detail and the colors and everything else in that figure were really well done, I thought.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it doesn't transform. I understand people who don't like that aspect, that the transformer doesn't change. It's not a change form. So yeah. But
you know what's crazy?
They usually don't move well, or they have like awkward articulation to allow for that engineering. So these guys are like,
dude, I used to think about this a lot a couple years ago, is to think about how the engineering went in the early 80s to build the Transformers, that actually have them transform into vehicles and then to transform into a robot, to think of the articulation, the joint, just everything that had to go in the 80s. I mean, there wasn't computer, you know what I mean? Everything had to been done with probably clay at some point. And just to think of the trial and error,
the tooling aspect and all that, they'd actually make the mock-ups, and I mean, there was no 3D printing, all that, so you made everything. Yeah,
it was pretty impressive, considering though that, I mean, you look at some of the Transformers and stuff that they have now, and they're not much different than the ones that we had in 1986 or 1984. As far as, I actually think some of the older stuff looks better with the chrome and some of the stickers and different things they have now. Now, obviously, they have a little bit more of a color palette to choose from, as far as, the dyes and the plastic and things like that. But
yeah,
I mean, that in 1985, I mean, that Optimus Prime with the fucking trailer was
with the trailer. I had that as well. I had that.
Oh my god, rubber tires, the whole 9 yards.
Very detailed. Yeah,
those are the best toys. In that Transformer world, like the third party, they call it, or the unlicensed companies. They've actually the ones that there's like not just one or two, there's dozens, and they're the ones that are innovating more. They're the ones that are still using die cast and things like that. They're the ones that are pushing it, because you just can't do it anymore with the costs, for the big companies. They want to keep it at a certain price point, and they just can't do it to hit their margins. So
a couple weeks ago,
a couple weeks ago, you were talking about something unique. It looks cool.
A couple weeks ago, you mentioned something about McFarlane, and I've thought about it multiple times since you've said it, but I haven't really talked to you about it. You said for what people pay for a McFarlane figure, it's almost ridiculous, right? Like the value and everything else that you get.
Right. I got the Batmobile in for the Batman '89, but in the Flash movie, so it's slightly updated, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was $59. And there's like Hasbro asking for, sorry to say, on their, I guess for me it's a bit controversial, the whole HasLab idea, that Hasbro needs to do a HasLab. like Hasbro's such a big company, they don't need to do a crowdfunder. But it's just that, being careful, right? Asking for 300 plus
So is it the quality that you're not impressed with as far as Todd McFarlane
So
stuff,
yeah,
or is it-
McFarlane, if you look at 3 years ago when he came back, and now there's been vast improvements, but the original thing was he didn't have as many articulation points. The joints were like the little peg holes were really big and unsightly. There were certain things about paint apps. Yeah, I mean he's got to give it to you for on $25 or under, right? Whereas Hasbro, everyone else has raised their prices. You're pushing $30 now for an average figure. Yeah. Sometimes you get it for 25, but sometimes you get even more than 33 or something like that. So what he does is he, just like a Spawn book, the 199 cover. He's like, I'm gonna give it to them. Okay. In the comics, he makes less pages. And here in the toys, maybe for this figure, I won't give you all the paint apps, but I'll give you the sculpt. That's the one thing that he always gives. Is the sculpt is, I mean, yeah, some of them are amazing. And all you need is like a new wash. And you can do that at home with a dry brush or whatever. Nothing too technical. Like
How
the new
involved
medieval
is
Spawn that just came out. He looks a bit silly on the shelf because he's all just primary colors. But you give him a wash and all that detail comes out. It looks
how
amazing.
involved is Todd McFarlane in the
I
day to
don't
day and
know.
all that stuff?
I don't know. I think at his company, he has a big voice. I think he is a final approval guy.
Yeah.
But there is the bit of, in the toy community, he gets a bit of flack because like every wave there's a Batman.
Yeah.
Right. And they blame him for that. I don't think it's him, man. We just look at DC. How many Batman books are there a week, right? And per month. It's ridiculous. It's the same thing. The DC is like,
Yeah.
here are the characters you got, and you gotta have one Batman in everything, It's just I think there is that from above. He gets a lot of flack for, he doesn't, like he had this as a design or engineering thing. He had like a diaper on his figures that was like a soft thing so they could move better. And sometimes that got a bit too big, like too tall. But he's chilling out on that. And the more it goes on, the more people are, yeah, especially toy collectors and stuff. The more that are falling into that. So yeah, and supporting, like his shit sells out now, like it sells out. It's impressive, man.
I remember during the pandemic, that was one of the my favorite things to do was to try to go and find some of the platinum McFarlanes. You know what I mean? A lot of people weren't going and hitting the Targets and Walmarts like they were. And if you knew what their stocking days were, you were able to. I actually found two. I actually found the Joker and the Deathstroke one, and paid retail for them. So
Is that stuff? That's the limited, right? The one that came with the signature. Yeah.
The Deathstroke was going. The Deathstroke at one time was flipping for close to 150, and the Joker never really. The Joker was about 50 or 60, to be honest with you. It wasn't super.
No,
high
yeah,
end.
that was always a bit strange because we never know we never got the exact numbers as well, so that put people off. Yeah, so he's now putting numbers on his special editions, and the numbers are pretty high, out of 10,000. So
what? Let me ask you a dumb question.
Man. They sell out. Like people go for them.
It's just the name, though, right? It's
what
just
kind of print run do those things have? I mean, we know some comics have a couple 100,000. We know we have a general idea of some print runs. No idea.
No idea. That they keep that hush hush, man.
That
was the interesting about the HasLabs because we knew the number of backers, right? We knew the prices, and so you could just do real basic math and go, holy crap, Sentinel, how many $1 million they got cash up front? Galactus, millions up front. It was insane. The Star Wars stuff, millions up front. You're like, God damn. Yeah.
I was in high school when the very first Kiss McFarlane figures came out.
Those, yeah.
And I remember trying to find them at the Toys R Us to try to get the whole set of them because they were doing really, really well. There was you may remember this, 78. There was one website early on in the internet days. It was called like the Action Figure Newsletter. And it basically did what we're doing now, where it would talk about like toys that were hot or, one per case and things that, like which WCW figures or WWF figures were hard to get and things like that. They had talked about Hot Wheels on occasion and treasure hunts, but that was basically like one of the reasons that I kind of got into like what we're doing now is I loved, going to Walmart at midnight and trying to figure out when they were stocking toys to try to find stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm 43 years old, and I still, that's one of my favorite things to do is to try to find something that is perceived to be rare and or normal chase stuff and see if I can find one.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that as well, like tracking how many per case, like, oh, this is the one per case. And, go for that one.
Yeah.
Try and get a couple of those, right?
Lisa Simpson.
Yeah. So there's a weird thing. Yeah, there's a weird thing in the action figures, like the toy community. That kind of collecting is not so, I guess, common, or like not. It doesn't come to the forefront as much. It's not so proliferant. So people like want the complete wave just to have the wave. They don't care if it's a one per case or that. They're like, I want the whole thing. Whereas like the Star Wars world, yeah. That's a
dude. I'll be honest with you. One of the funnest things. I mean, you probably remember this too. But in high school, or I guess I was coming up. It was high school transition into college when the prequels came out.
Yeah, that's right. That was the big like re-injection into the whole thing, man.
And I remember trying to find the Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader's with the long lightsabers.
The long lightsaber, right? And there was Jawas with the wrong print on the packaging. And yeah, that was insane, man.
Because I got back into Star Wars figures because if you remember, they redid all the special editions when Lucas decided to add everything else. Well, at our theater, I remember on the poster, they said they were giving away a limited edition action figure. And it was the Luke with brown tunic. It's a special edition figure. It still goes for quite a bit to this day. And I just remember how excited I was to get that. I knew it was going to be rare, and I knew it was one of those things, if I kept it in good condition down the road, that it was probably going to have some value. And sure enough, I don't know, maybe Omar, one of those guys, can probably tell me a little bit more about what it's going for. I haven't looked it up in a while, but man, I still have all those figures that I bought in high school. I still kept them in good shape.
Oh, well done, man.
I kept them. I got, you know what I mean? It's one of those deals. I still have in my garage. I put them in. I wrap them with bubble wrap, and I put them in a cardboard box, and I make sure that nothing bumps into them. Doesn't have UV light on them. I know that those blisters, they probably
detach after a while. Yeah.
I know that they need to be temperature stable. I know if they get too hot and stuff like that, there's probably a couple of them that are probably have some blisters and aren't great. But I know the corners and everything like that are good.
Oh, that's good. There you go. Yeah, that was a huge thing for the industry. That was a huge thing. That was a massive re-injection. It hit hard. Sure. But then the movie sucked. And then that really things got wonky.
I think I saw a remix or an edit that someone did. They took a bunch of the Jar Jar stuff out.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was one of the big like YouTube things when it came out.
And you know what? The Darth Maul stuff was interesting. Yeah, Some of the stuff was, the Watto, the pod racing was cool for the kids. I mean, they had some elements that were good, but just the Jar Jar and some of the other stuff just made it so cringeworthy for adults and young people. I mean, even the kids didn't like Jar Jar. It'd be different.
Thanks, Taylor.
Kids enjoy Jar Jar,
Yeah, that Duel of the Fates, the last 15, 20 minutes of the Phantom Menace is like some of the best Star Wars stuff that's ever been out. But the first 2 hours is just like, well, the pod racing was pretty cool too. But yeah, that Duel of the Fates is pretty fucking sick.
Speaking of Duel of Fates, that might be one of the best Star Wars. That might be one of the best. Yeah. I mean, Williams had some amazing songs, or I don't know what you'd call the instrumentals or whatever, but Duel of the Fates is it's still special. Dude, speaking of that same era, kind of a weird transition, but I mean, Ralph, you posted this, that I guess the Filoni's movie is going to be named Heir to the Empire.
That's the rumor, yeah. Heir to the Empire.
That's awesome, dude. That was good stuff.
Favreau has, I think he might have some production in it, but other than that, it's entirely Filoni. And I think everybody is freaking elated with that. So something to look forward to.
You're not worried he's like just putting more pressure on himself not to shit the bed?
I mean, if I need to give the final shot to anybody on the Star Wars team, I'm gonna let Filoni cook. So
That's an interesting point. There's a lot of people. I mean, the majority of the people, I think everyone feels the same way about Kathleen Kennedy. She has not been good for the franchise. Favreau and Filoni have been. You know what I mean? I don't really have anything negative to say about Filoni. I mean, for what he was doing with the Clone Wars and Rebels, with the budget he was given, time constraints, and everything else. I mean, how amazing was that? And I mean, I don't know, a lot of people who dislike The Mandalorian. I've heard people have opinions on the Boba Fett series and a couple of other things, but a majority of the people our age are excited for Wednesdays to come around when Mando comes out. And it wasn't the greatest of season this year, to be honest, in my opinion. But at the same point in time, there were some pretty cool fucking elements to it. Like, I didn't know a whole lot about Mandalore and some of the other things that went on. So I enjoyed it. I mean, anytime, at one point in time before the prequels, we didn't think we were ever going to get any more Star Wars. You know what I mean? We thought that we had those 3 and that was going to be it. And then when the prequels came out and shit the bed, it was kind of like the same deal. It was like, man, they're never going to make any more movies. And now we're getting multiple Star Wars, projects a year and some things like that. It's tough. It's easy to bitch, and I'm really good at bitching about poor quality stuff, but it's still, I mean, as an adult, I don't know if I've ever freaked out more than the finale of season 1 of The Mandalorian when fucking Luke Skywalker, when that green lightsaber popped up. I literally, I was in my house by myself and I was up screaming like the Cubs just won the World Series, just mind fucking blown. So, I mean, it's easy to look past like some of the stuff that wasn't great, but I mean, as an adult, that's one of the cooler moments I've had watching any television or movies.
For real.
Have you guys noticed that some of the best stuff that Disney has done has happened in the corridor, like that Luke Skywalker stuff, the Darth Vader in Rogue One, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, that where they're all fighting together.
Yeah. I found the Guardians thing was also like kind of because of what Daredevil did in Netflix.
Oh, that's right. Yep, that's
right. Like
one.
The Netflix
that's not
shows.
Disney, but
the hallway scene,
doing the hallways, right? Which is
Yep.
of course an homage to Hong Kong action films, but then the Punisher had his in the prison, and they all had that, and so I liked that kind of. James Gunn's going, yo, that shit was dope. I'm gonna do my version. But yeah,
the Daredevil was a one take too, correct?
I think it was. Yes. Yeah,
I remember that.
So
I remember that when it came out, it was one of the ones that was about
Guardians.
8 or 9 minutes of just constant ass whooping and trying to get through that, like you said, corridor. And fuck, dude, that Darth Vader scene, I'll never forget that, because
that was
when it just goes black and you just see that red lightsaber, and it's just like, oh my god, I totally understand it now. So
yeah, once we understood, we got the Darth Vader we should have got all the time. Yeah.
Are you guys excited about the Transformers?
Touching on that Filoni thing about the like motion picture and all that, like. For me, like I have faith in him because of the last few episodes of Clone Wars. Was it season 7 when he came back and closed it off? He was given that budget, right? And the way he just wrapped everything up, told that big story, that was impressive. That was an amazing, like I think it was like 4 episodes. Like sitting down and watching that back to back, I was like, oh fuck, that was like peak. That was amazing. So yeah.
Are any of you guys excited about this? I've been up and down. I think I'm going to go watch this Beast Wars Transformers movie. I always tell myself that I'm not going to watch anymore of the Transformers, and I always end up going, and I always end up enjoying it. Like, I wasn't excited about the Bumblebee movie 3 years ago. And I went to it, and it wasn't horrible. But anytime I just 43 years old, and any time that I get to see a live action Optimus Prime kick ass and just be Optimus Prime, they're going to get my $13. I don't know much about the Beast Wars. Like, that was completely, I was into baseball and boobs and shit like that when all that stuff was coming out. I
vaguely remember the animation style was different. It was like more 3D.
I liked it. That was cool. I remember it was like my last cartoon I probably watched.
I just don't know like how the Maximals were on Earth all this time and no one knew about it. And I'm curious to see how they kind of tie everything in together. And then, I mean, I'm not giving anything away, but how the fuck are they going to defeat Unicron? I mean, they show Unicron in the trailer coming to Earth, so it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of this stuff plays out. They're going to get my money. I'm excited. I'm actually excited more about Guardians kind of got me excited about movies for the summer. I mean, I genuinely enjoyed that one. I'm really excited about The Flash. I know it's gonna fucking probably kick me in the nuts and piss me off, but the early reviews and the trailers have me excited about it. The Transformer stuff looks good. I'm probably gonna go watch Fast and the Furious at some point in time. I enjoy those in the theater. The last couple ones have been they've been decent. They make me laugh more when the family stuff, and then them taking a fucking act. I mean, what was the car they took in the space? The Nissan.
Fucking A.
You know what I mean? Like that. It's at that point where you're just like, man, I gotta know how this.
You gotta know what are they gonna do with the car.
How do they do that?
So I don't know. Is there anything y'all excited about? Any movies upcoming or
just Flash? I mean, I'm
Spider-Verse.
I'm hopeful.
Wasn't there
Into the Spider-Verse is the big one for me.
Not a comic book
Across the Spider-Verse. My bad.
Not any that sort of genre type movie, but the new trailer for the Scorsese, it's like I don't know if it's like a Western. Did you guys see that?
No,
yeah, it was filmed in Oklahoma. It's something of the Killer Moon.
Yeah, it's something Moon, but it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it was shot in Oklahoma. I actually know multiple people that were on the production and did some work there. It's based Flowers of the Killer Moon.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm on a shit ton of pain medicine, so I probably got that all mixed up, but I think those are the right words. I'm just not sure if they're in the right order. But yeah, it's about how a group of the Indians up in northeastern Oklahoma owned all the land that had oil on it, and how the women and everything started mysteriously dying, and people were, buying up the oil rights. So it's got Scorsese, it's got Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, DiCaprio's in
it. Has the 80-year-old sperm throwing Robert De Niro. Did y'all see that? 79-year-old slinging dick, knocking people up.
God damn.
Crazy, but that one, I'm excited about that one too, especially because anything shot in Oklahoma. They're doing Twister 2 right now. What sucks is
Twister 2. Holy shit.
No, it's got the dude from Top Gun, the kind of young hotshot kid.
Yeah, the blonde kid.
He's in it, and a couple things like that. The Mission Impossible does look good. Pickles is right.
I guess
I'm excited about Oppenheimer too. I don't know if you guys.
Oh yeah, I saw the preview for that.
Yeah,
that looks tight.
Pretty good. That's Christopher Nolan, right? Yeah.
Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything
he says
Nolan, you
that
gotta go see that in the cinema.
He apparently how the way that they were able to recreate the explosion for the nuclear bomb is on just some next level thing, and they haven't revealed how they've done it yet. But I saw a story where they said that was the hardest part, and took them a majority of their budget was to recreate the explosion and how it looked in a lower environment. So
Peak 90s.
Well, good, all good stuff. Yeah, movies should be. I'm not like super excited about stuff, but I'm still gonna go see stuff. So, but yeah, some sneaker news in this past week. We've seen Ralph and Trey. This is your guys' section. What's going on with these guys?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the usual ton of new drops and stuff, I kind of wanted to switch it up and talk about a pair of shoes that's up on Golden. For it, I'm gonna shoot you the link, but okay. It's a game worn pair, flu game. Michael Jordan. You guys know the entire story, but I thought it was pretty crazy that within the first couple of days of it being listed, it shot up to 800K. There's about 27 days left. So I mean, I can't recall a signed pair of shoes that has gone this crazy or gone for this amount. So I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on if obviously it's Jordan and it's an iconic game, it's the flu game, but if this becomes a trend as far as high level collecting.
Dude, the thing I love those shoes. Those were one of my favorite pairs, to be honest with you. Those 12s.
Yeah, Steve Williams.
But the thing about those signatures, those Sharpies fade over time.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at baseballs. There's a lot of different things depending on how they're stored or whatever. And I'm just genuinely curious in 50 years what some of these signatures, are they going to be present? Are they going to be led? You know what I mean? So it's
even the product, even the shoe's going to fall apart.
That's exactly. I mean, you've probably seen those same videos.
You're not gonna, yeah.
The
Where
signatures
people are
still look
building on
pretty
it.
legit though. Like if you pull up the website for it, I mean,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, there is some fading to the beginning of the signature, but I mean, you can definitely tell it's MJ's signature.
Sorry.
Well, they did
Yeah, it's hard
promote
to.
it. They did promote
Yeah,
it pretty well, man. They
it's a
did videos. It went across all the
it's a pretty cool
socials,
story
crossed
too.
over.
Uh,
Yeah.
the whole story about how the ball boy ended up with the signed pair of shoes. Apparently, he was a ball boy for the Utah Jazz, and Jordan wouldn't give ball boy signatures unless the ball boys brought back applesauce post game, which is some strange, yeah, pretty strange story. But the kid ended up auctioning them off in 2013, and this is the second time they resurfaced. So. And I mean, the guy was on top of his shit because he had the presence of mind to take a picture of the
Of
shoe
him.
being signed. So, uh, props to this guy.
Yeah. Forward thinking.
Dude,
planning.
speaking of 850,000, I was randomly, I haven't watched it yet, but I saw that the Ken Golden show on Netflix is like trending. It's been #1 for the last couple of days, and there was some kid from France he had like I think it was a soccer card, an Mbappe, that they got an offer for $750,000. It's just crazy to
Is this
think
the
about.
Black 101? The
I
auto?
forget. I honestly, it was, how like when you go on the Netflix main page and you'll click on something and it'll play like a minute and a half
Yeah.
loop of what it was, and it showed like a dad and his kid, and he's like, "Hey, I just want you know we have a legit offer of $750,000,000," and it's just like, could you
So much
imagine just
money.
fucking opening a pack, a $10 pack, and
Pulling
getting
that?
something like that, and just being able to change the trajectory of your life and your family's life forever by just opening a collectible? It's like this kid. I mean, sold those shoes twice, like they just said, for one. What you said, 840 is what it was for?
It's bidding 850 right now.
Yeah,
So
850, and there's okay, so they initially sold in 2013. I don't know what the kid initially sold them for, but they've ended up on Golden's website in this auction, and within the first couple of days, it shot up to 800K, and it's at 850 with about a month left. So,
Oh, a month left.
yeah, a month left. So who knows where it ends up, but pretty crazy.
Do you think it goes for, what are you thinking, $1.5 million? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, definitely over 1 million, right? That's for sure.
Oh yeah. And
Oh,
whoever's doing that is
that
probably,
Pepe coin.
trying to be strategic and scare everyone away.
Yeah, just shoot it up.
You know what I mean? Like,
Because if you look at the
let's
bid
bump it up to
history,
that.
the bid history, I think the first bid was 300K. It just jumped up after that.
Yeah, MJ's in another stratosphere. I would
Yeah,
say, like,
exactly.
going forward, though, there are a lot of game-worn shoes out there.
Oh yeah,
There are
ton.
a lot. Yeah, how many are signed or not signed, and how many have a photo showing that it's him signing it? I don't know, but there's a lot of game-worn shoes out there, and you can tell from the production, like the tags and things like that, can reveal that it's what we call a PE, a player exclusive.
Right.
There's a guy. Yeah, he's pretty big in the sneaker game. He has all the Kobe's, and he has all the Kobe variants of Jordans, meaning all the Lakers colorways, basically, all the Jordans in Laker colorways. It's pretty dope, and they're all player exclusives.
Yeah, I think
And
with
he's got
this,
Kobe's, he's got other, over the years, guys who were on Jordan brand that played on the Lakers. They got PEs in, the purple and gold.
yeah, and this is
This is
kind
a
of like
crazy
a unicorn though, right? The flu game.
Yeah, and that guy,
Mhm.
was it Rare Air Shoes? Was his name Rare Air Shoes?
Is it the
What was
guy
his
that
name?
owns a
Or
casino?
Corgi?
He's got the long hair.
Corgi 45? I forgot. It's been a while. Yeah, but that guy, every now and then he'll resurface and just show his collection in his garden, and it's got he puts it all out on like a barbecue pit, the plastic fold-up tables. And it's got like 60 shoes that nobody has. So it'll be interesting. I think people will rush to the market probably and start selling their P's and stuff, and but this is one of those iconic, super peak iconic moments, right? We all know the shot, historical, so it has a lot going for it.
Have you heard the deal about how it was? I mean, he wouldn't technically had the flu, and that he ate a bad pizza from Pizza
bad
Hut
pizza.
the night
It was
before.
delivered by 3 different people.
I heard he was really hungover though. He was
There's
drinking
been
Hennessy the night before.
I've heard
And
there's a bunch of interesting rumors when it comes to actually what happened before that night of
yeah,
that game, which I think it makes it even cooler, to be honest with you. I like the
Yeah.
nostalgia.
And he scored he still scored 25 points, all that. Everyone remembers that game, man. Doesn't matter what age you are. If you watch that game, you remember that game.
Dude, I never told this story though, but it's kind of in the same vein. But I got a cousin who lives in Amarillo. He's about 10 years older than I am. And when he was in college, he'd go hit like Goodwills and things like that. Well, he was in Amarillo, and a guy brought in a 50-gallon trash can full of old bats, wooden bats, right? And he bought the whole deal of wooden bats for like $50, right? Well, he noticed one of them said Jay Jackson on it, and it was old as shit and the whole 9 yards. Well, he ended up getting authenticated, and it's one of Shoeless Joe Jackson's only known bats.
holy shit.
And he'd been offered like 10, 12 years ago, a guy offered him $100,000 for it. And he's had a couple really crazy offers, and he refuses to sell it. He owns a laundry company up there and does pretty well for himself, but I just couldn't imagine just running into something like that. I mean, that's all of our dreams. That's why we hunt and do the stuff we do, is to hit that magical moment. But I think he took our family's magical moment, unfortunately. I don't know if there's going to be any more luck.
78. This is your.
This is just that one photo there. He's got multiples, of course, but look at that.
Ooh, those,
I wonder if he's got a
those-
pair of the 80-point games or the 81.
So that's Kobe's signature there on the threes, exclusive.
Pretty cool.
If that's going for 850, this is going to go for a few six figures as well, man.
Yeah, this is during that time when Kobe had left Adidas and didn't have a shoe contract, and he was just popping up with PEs all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Do
he
you
was
remember those
wearing the
horrible-
2K4s, the Hirachi 2K4s.
Yeah. Yep.
And the 2K5s, and that basically became. And then he asked for them to cut it. He had that whole thing. Hey, soccer players, football players are wearing low tops.
Yep.
In many ways, their ankles are just as stressed as a basketball player. Why not? And so they did.
Do you remember those crazy Kobe Adidas shoes that came out that looked like they were?
Oh god.
Yeah.
Like they
all
were. I forget
silver
what
things,
they
all
were.
that
Crazy
shit. Oh my god.
Yeah, the crazy.
I don't know. They looked like they didn't even look like shoes. I'm trying to remember what they
That was like it was supposed to look or resemble an Italian sports car or some shit like that.
That's right.
Remember?
I guarantee
And
you,
then
if
they made them out of
Kanye came
wood.
out, if Yeezy came out with those, if they had that Yeezy logo, they'd sell crazy
Oh, they'd
today.
go insane. That's
Yeah.
that's so true.
Yeah.
If he did like a remix on that or even a
Exactly, yeah.
colorway, just a colorway would have been. And supposedly that shoe was really uncomfortable.
Have you
I
seen?
haven't-
Speaking of Kanye, have you seen those new like sock sandals things he's been wearing? That it's supposed to be his new unveiling.
Is that Adidas though? I think that's just the.
Who knows?
Are you
what's
talking about
going on.
the Taekwondo pads that he's wearing?
No, there's literally a pair of they're basically socks, but they have some sort of rubber or something on the bottom of the socks, and he's been
No, I
wearing them.
haven't
And he
seen
said that's
those.
like his. I'll see if I can find a picture. Just fuck Ferds whole night up, send it to him, and tell him to post it.
We're not gonna get
78,
past one slide.
You were talking about PEs. Not sure if you've seen these. I don't want to butcher his name, but I think it's Yuto Horigomi. He was the first.
He's a robot, man.
Yeah,
This
he
kid's
won the
insane.
inaugural, I guess, gold medal 2021 skateboard Olympics. So he's got his first, I guess you can call it a PE Nike SB Dunk. And it's not like it's super out of the ordinary, but it's just something about it that is, to me, it just looks like it just looks good. Yeah, it's a clean shoe. It has the hint of the pink on the back, but it's just a super clean shoe.
Yeah. No, this fits into like the Japan sneaker aesthetic.
Yeah.
The HTM thing, all that, with the COJPs back in the day. They also used the cleaner, more subtle. In Japan,
Right.
there's a word called shibui, which is like a sophisticated subtlety. It's actually a thing. Like people dress like that. They dress kind of like they don't want to be too flashy,
Exactly. Yeah.
And this fits into that. No, I like it. He's got his little logo there.
So
Oh,
we get a
Nike,
thumb.
Nike, yeah, they're.
If
They've
we get a
signed
thumbs
him.
up, if we get a thumbs up from 78, then we're good. Thumbs up.
That's right.
I'm biased. He's Japanese kid, man. He's killing it.
He made me so happy last week when I rewatched their show, and he was so mad
switch
at
kicky back tail down the handrail or some shit.
Yeah,
What the
yeah. No,
fuck is
he
that
he
shit,
crushes.
man?
Yeah.
Like, man, they're video game kids nowadays, man. It's been insane skating nowadays.
Listen to how mad 78 got at the Kith shit last week. Made me laugh. When I rewatched it again, he had that same hate in his eyes that I get about shit. It made me happy.
I was trying to keep it down. But then
there's a new Kith drop tomorrow. Summer Kith is dropping tomorrow. 78, just in case.
Yeah, God, oh my God.
Dude, 70, that's why I like you though, is because when people get mad about things, it means they have passion about what they're talking about. You don't get pissed off about stuff unless that you like the things that you're talking about. It has meaning to you at some point in time. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to get angry unless you are genuinely mad because something that you liked was getting shitted on, or aspects were getting stolen from, and that's why I think you're good at what you do. I mean, you No, I'm serious. I mean,
that was that's thanks for saying that, but that's true. It's because I like I have a passion about the older stuff, and I understand about homaging and things like that. But when
yeah, I figured I'd come correct this week and get a pair that 78 was feeling.
No, the next story. What do y'all think about this one?
I added this later on. We're going to talk about Ja a little bit more later on in the card section, but this is my thought process on this. Is there a chance that these actually have some value later on down the road if he does get his shit down together?
I think because they're eventually going to pull the shoe, which is going to decrease the amount that are in circulation. I think it might be a shoe that's tough to find down the road. The very first Ja that dropped, which I think is that one that you have there, that day one. I think it's called day one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Do you think that these are going to hit the Burlingtons and Ross? Is my next question, because that's what they
do
with
a lot
of
those.
It up. You might be able to find these for relatively cheap, and I think it's a decent. I mean, I'm not going to buy 10 pairs of them by any stretch of the means, but I think if I find 2 pairs that are in decent price, I think I might throw them up in a closet and see what happens.
Does Ross rip off the lids?
I think they do. Yeah.
You don't get boxes with them a lot of time, to be honest with you, because that's what happened. I mean, this is totally something you'll probably don't. But like a couple years ago, they made some Jordan 11s and a bunch of shoes for the Masters, the golf tournament release. And on the tongues, they had praying hands for Amen Corner, which is a trademark thing. These were literally about to come out 2 weeks before, and Nike sued. Nike got sued by the Masters. So they never end up going to public consumption. They got released at Burlington's, and I mean they're $8,000 shoes right now. I mean they're the grail of all grails when it comes to golf shoes. And I mean during the pandemic, people were finding Yeezys, people were finding crazy dunks. It's insane at some of the finds that people get at the Burlingtons and the Ross. The only downfall is that they do not come with boxes. So
where they used to, I know like the outlets would rip the lid off, so you get the tray.
Yeah,
just for storage.
Is there a secondary place to buy boxes, Ralph? Do you know anything? I mean, this may be a dumb or even 78. Like, is there a place to piece together boxes? It's interesting.
No, I never. Maybe nowadays.
I've seen empty boxes being sold on eBay all the time. So I mean, that would be my first place to check.
I remember like the thing was like with the Jays, like when they did the retros, you had the little postcard in there.
Right. Yep.
And so some people, their postcards would go missing, and to make it complete, people would buy the postcard. I remember that, but boxes. No, that's after my time.
By the way, guys, all these slides looked way better until I came and fucked them up earlier today. Ferd had them all center, look nice. And I'm just throwing shit in the middle of them, so.
No, man, they looked a lot. Doesn't matter. I really didn't know. I really didn't know what to put in some of these slides, so I appreciate you coming through.
No, it's my fault, man. I should have been. Like I said, this has been a crazy week. I had surgery. We got hospitalized late last night. I had surgery this morning, so
yeah. I only had. I mean, you put a third comic book on there, so I only had 2. So actually, it works out fine, and it's more.
I figured we need to discuss it. I figured there's
Yeah.
a few things
we
comic
care?
wise that need to be discussed.
Yeah. So I saw, I know this is kind of old news, but there's this Avatar style film that has been rumored to be optioned, and Fathom is the old Michael Turner Aspen product, Top Cow, whatever you want to call it, is the focal point of the story. I have a couple of these like just in dollar bins that I found, but do you guys think this is worth it to scoop these up? Or I mean, it's an independent, it's Michael Turner goodness though, and it's an Avatar type story. So
Turner books don't. That's the one thing. Turner has such a rabid fan base, and it's one of those ones that it feels like it expands every year when more and more new fans get turned on to him and realize just how talented that guy was. I mean,
yeah,
the J. Scott Campbells and the people like that. I mean, you can definitely tell where they got their style from, in my opinion.
sure.
And any of these old properties like you're talking about that are have some potential for growth down the line, I don't think it's bad at all. And his stuff just doesn't go down for the most part. It's gone up in the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, I'd say that's true. Everything you said is true. The concern I have with the book itself, like there's a lot of variants of Fathom 1. There's this is around the time that I checked out of comics when Fathom, I think it was like I remember Fathom 1 on the Grax, but after that I was out. I mean, Michael Turner with Witchblade and all that was huge. And the Darkness, all that was huge, right?
Yeah, those were like my favorite. Those actually those are the first books I ever read, like consistently on a monthly basis.
You're just like I mean,
Turner has my second favorite
because
cover.
Dynamic Forces was involved, and there was so many.
Another universe, is that what it was called? Anotheruniverse.com.
Yeah, Another Universe. That's right.
Yeah.
Which one to buy? Someone who knows more would have to tell us which one.
Sure.
I never read Fathom, to be honest with you. I wish I could talk about it a little bit more as far as content. But
it was pretty cool. I mean, it was very obviously like really water based, but it was kind of like it was kind of like Little Mermaid, but like actual war with like I actually liked the human like sea, like submarines and whatnot, and the art was really cool. It was a different Michael Turner because it was all water, and so the way that he made like the bubbles work out, like and just kind of the dolphins and the different animals, it was really different perspective versus like him just drawing chicks. Basically, that's what I liked about it. The art was pretty awesome. And then this other book that I don't know. Everyone's trying to get UF4 because it's the first appearance of Miles and all that. But I actually, as a collector, prefer this book because it's him going into the 616. And this Miko Suyan variant isn't really highly printed because it's issue 3. But I found one for $150 and a 9.8, which I thought was a pretty good. Was a pretty good steal. I don't know. I don't know if that it was the best offer, so it may have gone for a little bit less. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this book?
I feel like this book got hot during the last movie, right? The Into the Spider-Verse. It seems like it kind of got recycled because the movie's going to come out again, Across the Spider-Verse. This book always seems to come up.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're onto something, because I remember 6-7 years ago, Batman Adventures 12 was what everybody was wanting as far as, her first appearance. But then there was, it got Joker sitting in what number Batman was. I forget what it was, but it was technically her first appearance in DC normal continuity and Earth 1. And that book went from a $50 9.8 to a $200 9.8. And I know our buddy Red Hood keeps talking about it quite a bit. So if that book gets popular because it's her first appearance inside continuity, that makes complete sense that this book, with the more and more popularity Miles is getting year after year, that this book makes a lot of sense to continue to gain in value. I think you're onto something, Fer, to be honest with you. And for $150, like you said, for a 9.8, that's not that expensive in this day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many people are buying Cataclysm, the Ultimate's Last Stand at that point in time. A print run could not be that high.
Number 3.
Number 3. Yeah. I don't know if it's 1 in 50 or 1 in 25, but it's, it's a ratio.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ratio.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say that.
My only thing would be hesitancy right now, because just looking at how the market in the last year and a half, how this would be me like the secondary key in terms of Miles. It
Mhm.
wouldn't be up there with the primary keys. Like how rabid is the market going to be for those secondary keys? You know what I mean?
What
Yeah.
outside of UF4, the variants in the first and the second prints? What are the second and third place Miles book that people are into?
The
Ultimates.
big
that,
one is probably
Yeah, the
the
first
Miles
ongoing.
Miles Spidey 1 ratio.
Yeah,
that preview
The
bullshit.
Pacelli?
I don't know.
yeah, I think it's the
That
Pacelli,
only goes
right?
for 3. That goes for a lot.
Yeah.
9.8. Even though it was a big book, it was a lot of print. So there should be plenty out there, but yeah, condition, blah blah blah. And people are just holding, man.
Yeah.
Isn't there like
They're
a previews
holding.
book too? The preview.
Yeah,
the
there's a preview
previews.
book.
That
Yeah.
that was I think that was a bit of fuckery, man, and just a
Oh,
random dude. Like the guy, I remember watching an interview with a guy who bought it, and he's just a Miles super fan,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, hey, and he kind of messed up the market with that.
What do you guys feel about the preview? Remember back we were early on in the 90s. Remember the giant previews that would come out once a month? The DC Connects, how do you guys feel about that kind of stuff long term? Do you think that it's viable, or do you think it's just kind of a flash in the pan where people are just kind of reaching for scarcity and to flip things?
So when you talk about preview catalogs, I think yes, it's a reach. But there are things like the first Hellboy turned up in like a con thing, con little pamphlet book kind of thing, and he's in there.
Was it the San Diego Comic-Con?
Yeah,
right?
Those kinds of IPs, maybe where there's like a real, almost like a cult following. Okay, it can translate over, but I think there's a thing like there is a line. It's a comic book or it's not. That.
And it's like
a bit.
Like how many pages it like that Marvel previews of Miles, like how many pages, like how big is the preview inside the actual book? That's what kind of makes me kind of like it's a reach. It seems like just like a reach. I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
See, like one of the reasons I ask you about this is there always been this book I've been trying to get, and I've never found a really good copy of it. But it's technically Harley's first appearance. It's that Almost Got Him kids book that came with the tape. You guys familiar with that?
Yeah, I know about that one. Yeah,
like that. Considering that she wasn't originally made for comic books.
Yeah.
She wasn't. That was a Dini Bruce Timm concoction just for the TV, the animated series at the time, and that coloring book basically was about 4.5-5 months ahead of when BA12 came out. I don't know. I've bid on a bunch of them, but I've never been able to find one that was in really, really good condition with the cassette and whole 9 yards. So I've seen that do really, really well. I've seen that Spawn previews do really, really well recently.
The Malibu thing.
The Malibu, the miscolored Malibu, the Rust preview special edition. There's some interesting stuff like that, and I'm on the fence about it long term. There's some of them that make sense, but some of them I think it's just kind of a grab at the point.
I think what deters like that, what you're talking about versus like the previews magazine, is that it's specific to that character, right? So the whole book inside is specific to Harley Quinn or Spawn. The previews has like Miles for 4 pages and then like everyone else who came out the next month. So it's like not specific to Miles himself, which is why I don't really consider it a specific book for that character, even though he shows up on cover and whatever. Plus, man, it's free. I just can never get over like that free. I don't know. It's not a con, type thing, like giveaway. I know it's like that type of thing, but I just would never spend money on it. It wouldn't appeal to me as a collector.
And it's kind of a little bit, but do you remember like Foom #2, which a lot of people consider that to be the first appearance of Wolverine?
And Foom 10.
You familiar with that one, Ferd?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's some interesting stuff. I'm curious to see. Like I said, it seems like everyone got real stagnant and bored with what was, mainstream, and they've looked for everything on the outside to try to. I don't know. I like it though. I like it when people find different things and find the first image of such and such, and whether it be in the San Diego Comic-Con previews, which I think that was what the first Hellboy was. I might be mistaken.
Yeah, I forgot which issue of the Thor, but there's even in the Thor, there's the ad for the Hulk, right? And there's Wolverine in there or some shit, right?
Yeah, I've heard that
And
too.
didn't they try?
I
Didn't
bought
Marvel
that.
try to make a different Hulk? Wasn't there a Hulk, like a brown Hulk, that didn't do too well, and then they changed him to a green Hulk a couple years later?
Man, I don't know.
I do. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly what it was.
Oh, the original Hulk he was great with.
Let me see if I can find it. Tell you what it was,
Yeah,
but it was
the Foom 2 was a prototype Wolverine. I think it's like a sketch in there or something like that, right? It's a cool cover, man. It's a really I've wanted to buy it just because of the cover. Yeah.
that is a good Hulk cover. I think Hulk. I'm trying to remember what it looks like.
It is Hulk. He's holding up the rocks. That's his Foom on top.
Yeah, here it is. Journey into the Mystery, 62. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Oh yeah, I think I have seen that around.
Looks red.
I didn't know what the reference was.
It's brown. It's a
Sasquatch.
brown color. Sorry, I'm not.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the very first Hulk, and it's crazy that just a couple years later that they decided that one wasn't going to work and went with the Hulk. That we
Looks
all
like
love and
Bigfoot.
adore now.
Yeah,
That's
he's a
exactly what it
Sasquatch,
was.
man.
Yeah, cool. I was just curious for you guys' opinion. It was kind of light for comics this week, except for this whole death of Kamala Khan stuff, man. Which is
You weren't excited about that, Ferd? Death of Kamala Khan?
I don't get. Are you being serious?
Nah, I'm not being serious.
Let's go.
I didn't care. It was so weird how they like hyped it up for a day and then they said, "Oh, she's coming back in October" or something. And so I was just like, "Move along," right? I don't know.
Oh no, I think
This
that
is my
coming back thing. That was someone got their years mixed up.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that was a book from last year.
Oh,
Yeah. Here's what's interesting is I think that I think they're doing this for multiple reasons. I think it obviously, a lot of, if you remember, Vinny talked about it at the Comics Pro event where I forget what's the Marvel CEO's name, the guy who was thought he was pretending to be Japanese, and then anyway, he told Vinny
He's
that there
the
was going to be
CEO
something.
now?
Yeah.
No way.
Not the
Holy
CEO,
fuck.
excuse me, editor in chief. Sorry, CEO is probably not
Okay.
the.
Yeah, but editor in chief as well. Oh, he's still there. God damn! I thought. Man, that shit
Hold on, I'll
got me
tell you his
upset.
name.
Yeah, I remember the guy.
CB Sobolski. But he pretended to be a Japanese person, the whole 9 yards. So
Yeah, man. Sup, Will?
he told Vinny that obviously something major was going to happen in Amazing Spider-Man 26. Most people thought it was going to be the death of Mary Jane. That was what everyone, all the hints and everything else were. So for Kamala dying, it's interesting because obviously she's comic book. She's not going to stay dead for very long. But what the thing that I think what's going to happen is obviously in her television series at the very end of it,
Yeah.
she was exactly right. 78. She's a mutant. Now, what's been going, if you've been paying any attention to the X-Men the last 4 to 5 years, they have these things now called the resurrection protocols, which, 5 of the mutants, they figured out how to bring back and to clone people and to bring them back to life. So I'm curious if this is kind of how they retcon the whole Inhuman thing.
Yeah.
And bring her back as a mutant, which therefore transitions her to a totally different, and then there've been some photos of I think in July where she's on a couple covers with a couple X-Men. So I don't know if it's the right
X-Men
move
book
or
was
not.
from last year, so that's the.
So
I think
here's
that
my
was from last year.
here's my question to you guys. Do you guys think Marvel had this all planned out, or is this something, they kind of they heard the backlash, she's a mutant, like what? That doesn't make sense, and this is what they decided to do.
I think you're right, and I also think that I don't know if this is to help the Marvels out, the movie that's upcoming or not. I don't know what their strategy on this is, to be honest with you, because there's been some interaction with her and Spider-Man over the last 5 years, but for her to be dropped into the Amazing Spider-Man the way that she was and then be killed by the Golden Goblin or whatever it was, I don't know.
Feels
It just
shoehorned,
seems
right?
like it's
it does feel shoehorned.
It feels shoehorned.
Yeah.
It does. It feels like they're. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think Marvel's made a lot of really great decisions about their comic books over the last couple years. So it's interesting. Anytime you get national coverage from, I remember the death of when Scarlet Witch died a year and a half ago, whatever. It had a little bit of stuff. The national media talked about it. For Entertainment Weekly and a lot of these, gossip sites to pick up on this. No, I mean, it was like Entertainment Weekly and a couple of the others, they brought it up. It's interesting. I remember when people used to be excited and spec on death issues, and that is absolutely a waste of fucking time and money because those death issues are not worth. I think the best death issues are probably the Jason Todd Batman ones.
Oh
yeah. Those are probably the top tier death issues. Is there any other death issues that you can think of that do well?
I won't say this did very well, but Death of Professor X back in the mid-90s, that was like my first crossover as a kid. That's just the one that always sticks in my head. I wouldn't say it was a great one, but it definitely it was cool for a 14-year-old kid to be reading comics back then.
Gwen Stacy's first death still does.
Oh yeah,
no, that's a good.
That's a good one. Yeah,
but she's back. She's Spider-Gwen now.
I know she's always back, man.
Ororo.
I did this as just a magazine kind of market report. I just thought some interesting sales that I found of random stuff. So Bitcoin 9.8 recently sold for $5,000 best offer.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Really interesting that it was graded and $5,000. It's a pretty new magazine. The Wemba Sports Illustrated Raw report, 120 raw. So, we talked about this at nauseum. We still probably talk about it with the Wemba car and all that. So, anyone that got on top of this early, you're already up quite a bit since it came out.
To the guys that have like 30 of them, what are you guys doing with them?
Trey?
Are you holding or
Trey?
Man, I honestly, I've debated on this, and I know, and Ralph keeps bringing it up, and the more I think about it, the more he's right. These Wembanyama cards are gonna do well until Silver drops their nuts, till the Prism 2024-23 come out and drop their nuts. I don't know how well this card is going to do long term. I just don't. So I don't know. I have 5 or 6 cards that are really, really centered well and would grade extremely well depending on how they're torn out and however, I decide to go that route. I just don't know if it's worth taking them out right now, or like I said, I got them in some top loaders, some plastic top loaders, and I got them stored really, really nice. I don't know. I mean, I've thought about getting some graded by CGC as far as whole magazines. I've thought about getting some of the whole page of them graded. I thought about sending them some of those services to get the Wembanyamas, trimmed out. I don't know. I really don't know what to do. That's a great question, Ferd.
I'm
grading it.
Go ahead.
I'm grading it.
I was gonna send this to you guys, and since you brought up that Sports Illustrated SI Kids card, 2 years ago, the Naomi Osaka, she was, I think she had won a tournament or something like that in 2021. A PSA 9 SI Kid sold for $13,000. That same card sold, was it last week, for $93.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's great. I was gonna.
She's had an interesting kind of last 3 or 4 years.
That's also the trajectory of her career as well.
Yeah,
she
that's the
got
thing.
knocked up by the rapper. What's his name? She's engaged.
Shoot, I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of the name.
Yeah,
but that's
no,
that's the gamble with the
headings,
SI Kids.
yeah.
Wembayama is hot right now. But who knows? In a couple years,
He's
it could
going to
go
the
up.
Spurs, man.
It's perfect situation, I think.
It is,
But
because
does that help his? Does it help his brand by going to the Spurs? I push
probably
back on
not.
that.
Did you hear that they
Fuck the Spurs.
They said that whoever drafted him number 1, that franchise value increased by $500 million. Think about that. That's fucking crazy. They were talking about it. They said that if Charlotte would have drafted him instead of San Antonio, their valuation for the franchise would increase by $500 million. But I mean, if you saw that, I don't know if you saw that, but when Houston got fucked in the lottery and ended up getting fifth, like Wembanyama was excited he wasn't going to Houston, and with the
Shit, I would be too.
relationship, Tony Parker is still has ties and stuff to San Antonio, and Boris Diaw. A lot of those French national team players had come through San Antonio, and they love Pop, so he was genuinely excited. I saw a photo of Wembanyama and Tony Parker with like the front office of the San Antonio holding up a jersey, and he genuinely looked like he wanted to play there and is excited to play there.
Who's making second? Was it? It's Charlotte, right?
I think it's the Pistons. Yep. Oh, it's Charlotte. Okay.
Pistons got fifth. Remember, I think Pistons got screwed over too.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, Ben Wallace was like gray-haired Ben Wallace. The other two magazines, real quick. Fortune magazine with Bill and Steve on the cover. I think that's one after they had like some type of merger, like kind of some type of deal. That went for $250 in okay condition. And then I thought this was really weird. Miss Holmes on the cover incorporated went for $159, and that's a subscription. Just some little market magazine randomness for y'all. Yeah, I thought that was really weird. The nerds unite over the other nerds. So anyway, the Bitcoin one was crazy to me though. And Trey, I apologize for the slides. I couldn't find any Star Wars Fantasy Flight card games, so I just took my favorite Star Wars card game and kind of parlayed it here. But what's up with this new game?
So I added this to the.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
You broke my brain. I'm like, I gotta start Googling shit fast because I don't know where I'm from.
What do you think about this game?
I thought it was Trey. My bad. My fault.
You know, nothing really, I think, special or out of the ordinary about this, but with everything seemingly turning into a TCG, I kind of just wanted to get your guys' opinion on if. So we're gonna get Lord of the Rings, we're gonna get Disney Lorcana, we're gonna get the Star Wars. Is this another overprinted, printed to high heaven card game? I say game in quotations because nobody's really gonna play it, right? Everybody's gonna try to flip it. So is this just Star Wars milking the cash cow, or do you think people actually play this?
So I think I think I played the card game back in the day. I talked about it, I think, on this show before, and what the functionality of the game was kind of annoying because you have to have a big table, and then it was just there was too many good guys, not enough bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, but what really had me stay with playing the game was the pictures and the way that they looked, versus like there were other Jedi Knight games that came out when the new movies came out, and they just looked really like they looked lame, and they weren't very popular. Whereas, I mean, this didn't continue on past 2001, the old school Star Wars trading card game, but the just the photos and the way they did the pictures, I think, kept it going. So the look of it really is what kept it going. I don't know. I'd have to. I want to try and find a picture or what the cards looked like, and then give my kind of synopsis or evaluation. But I think until I see like a preview of what the cards look like, I'm probably gonna hold off on this personally.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything out there as far as what the art looks like or what the cards look like yet. So
yeah, they do have enough. They do have the ability though to like introduce more characters. I mean, you can go all the way back to like pre episode 1 and go off that and use the Darths from like back in the day. Whereas the older game, they were just lacking. It was the only Siths you had were Darth Vader and Darth Sidious, and that was it. So it's kind of hard to be the dark side because you had so many. You just didn't have enough people. But no, I think it's cool. I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out for it for sure. Just as a fan, it got me excited.
It seems like that Lorcana shit has fucking fallen off. That was the talk of the town about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And
have the promos like kept price though? Like
I think they have. The promos are the only thing that's maintaining some sort of value.
That's crazy, man. Because like I feel like they didn't release it like soon enough to kind of keep the excitement of the game. There's too many.
I just
There's
think
too much stuff coming out.
I just think there's a lot of people that I mean, you go look at the Disney Plus subscriber base in the last couple years, how many millions of people have stopped giving I mean, people like myself, I'm not going to give Disney. I'm not going to pay Disney for a while. I mean, I'm not. There's nothing really excited. There's nothing I'm too excited about watching that's coming on Disney Plus after the Mando's over with. So I don't know. I just don't think people are excited about Disney as they were 6 years ago. And I mean, it's gotten political, obviously. There's a bunch of stuff involved. So I don't know. It's just weird, too, though. Like, I feel like Disney stuff should be more for children. And then you turn into like adult card games and things like that. It's just, I don't know. I might be off base, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I don't play the TCGs or stuff like that, but I mean, as a 43-year-old, it's I don't give a fuck about a Pluto insert card.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know kids that want to play card games anymore either. Like when I was
I don't
a kid.
know, man. My nephew plays. I mean, they legitimately play Pokemon. Like, it's insane. Like, no, I didn't believe it. But I mean, they have decks. They bring them to school. They play at lunch. Then they play baseball and soccer. But I mean, they legitimately play Pokemon, which surprises shit out of me.
No, it's true. Because my nieces and nephews, they do not play at all. They just collect them and then throw them away. But sports card stuff, Trey, this definitely is your section for sure. So take it away, man.
Great. No, I mean, Ralph and I have been discussing this all week right now about how are we going to attack this Bowman University, the Bowman Chrome University, the Bowman Inception, all these different products that Topps has announced in the last 10 days that have the Wembanyama autographs in there. Right now you can pick up cases, which are 12-box cases, I believe, for about $2,100 to $2,200 on Card World, David Adams, and a couple of the bigger places. I think that these are going to do really, really well until Prism drops. I mean, that was one of the same things that happened, if you guys remember, during the pandemic when the draft pick stuff, because the Panini draft pick shit normally sat on the shelves and gathered dust. But during the pandemic, that was the only way you could get Zion Williamson cards, which he was, he's not even a third of a hot as what Wembanyama was at the time frame. Mm-hmm. And I mean, all those cards were doing really, really well. So I think that these cards are going to do really, 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 really well until Prism drops. So you have to almost time it. You hold on to the sealed boxes, which we've discussed. Do you open them trying to get one of the Wembanyamas to try to pay for it? Like, there's a very thin line and a very, very short time period to make money on these. But I think that there is a chance to make really, really good money on these. Because here's the thing. A perfect example of this. Let's say you get one of these Wembanyama, which they're going to be fucking nuclear high to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then let's say that the first 2 weeks of the season, Wembanyama throws up some crazy numbers.
Yeah.
The only way how that FOMO is and that excitement, the have too many drinks and cocktails one night and you get on eBay and start buying shit. These cards are going to go crazy.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, like you said, Trey, I think there's a few different ways you can play it. You can buy the Bowman U, the basketball with the first Bowman tag on there. You can flip the sealed product. You can rip, and if you hit an auto, you hit the lotto. Or you can, go the long-term route where you're holding off on to see what he does in the season. I was telling you guys about the rumor that his signature or his auto is a Fanatics exclusive. So if that is true, the Bowman U, the basketball Bowman U Chrome is going to be, the only place you can get his first auto. So that's going to eliminate Prism, National Treasures, all that other stuff. So there's different ways to play it, but it just kind of depends on what your financial situation is. If you can sit on a couple cases of product, might as well do it.
God, can you imagine what his National Treasures RPAs. Obviously, if it's not a Fnatic exclusive, what that would go for.
Yeah, no, it'd be crazy.
Can I ask just a very logical, hypothetical question to y'all? Have you guys actually seen him play, like on highlights or anything?
I saw him
Yeah.
play defense, and I was like, wow, this guy. I mean, it's just
Okay.
defense, right? But his offensive game is, on point. He can shoot lights out, but
He's
I'm not.
7'5".
Yeah.
He run. Here's the thing. I watched him play. I don't know if you guys remember earlier in the season, they played his team. His European team came to Vegas and played the NBA Elite, the developmental team that had all the young people on there. And I know this doesn't make any sense, but he moves like KD at 7'5". He's Yao Ming size, and he dribbles and can play on the perimeter. He blocks shots, and he has a low post game. He's a little skinny, obviously.
Yeah,
but
7'5", right?
But his shooting stroke and his handle and the way he moves off the ball, it's nuts. If he stays healthy, there's no way that he busts. He's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I was worried that he's too slender and he can snap.
That's the only thing. Is his frame. He's got to put. Katie never really put muscle on, and he's had a great career. But that's just I just take that back. Kevin Garnett did as well. But yeah,
7'5" though. That's 6.
He's got the height.
6'7". Perfect example is Chet. Last year Chet is the same body type. 7'1". And he's dribbling up and down the court and hurts his leg.
Yeah,
it just, I just don't know if people that big are meant to run and sprint and put those pounding on their joints and ligaments like that long term. We don't know. Perfect example, Zion. When Zion came out, I was like, we've never seen anyone like Zion. Well, as big and powerful as his ligaments and his shit, like his muscles, they're not holding up to that frame from what I've seen and what his injuries have proven. You know what I mean? To be able to jump and run like he does, I just don't know how he fucking blows shoes out. He's so powerful. Can you imagine what his ligaments and shit feel like?
Sure. Yeah. I generally just curious. I've seen him play like a couple highlights, and like there was one move where he I felt like he jumped from like the 3-point line, dunked it or laid it up. That was like, holy shit. That's just freaky, crazy stuff. But
the other thing on the Wembanyama we're going to get to next is our buddy Steve Dalton last couple weeks ago made an interesting post telling us to buy this right here, which is a slam deck. I've never heard of them before. I did some research on them, but they own the rights to the French national team. And therefore they came up with a player set. It has all the French national players, men and women in this. So this card right here is technically the very first licensed Wembanyama card. I bought 3 sets of them, and they came. Here's what's crazy. It was like $9 shipping, and they came from France to my doorstep in 9 fucking days. 9 days is what they came for. And here's the thing. These were $23 a set. I showed the guys earlier tonight. There's been a couple sales of already $150 for this card. The Wembanyama mania is real, and this is a licensed card. I like it because it has rounded corners. It's one of those ones where, you know what I mean? It's
That's what's crazy. This is going for 150, so the people are actually researching, and they just want anything Wembayama. If it's the first whatever, so the first Bowman Wembayama, it's gonna go crazy.
That's a good looking card. The one that the
clean.
photo right there with the free throw line with that's not a bad looking card at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's exciting. I like having basketball. I remember how exciting it was when LeBron came into the league and KD and a lot of these people, trying to get. I remember when I was a kid trying to get a Shaq rookie card or that David Robinson hoops, and you know what I mean. I think it's fun to have a player that comes through, every couple generations or every generation or so that has the hype and lives up to it. And if this kid lives up to half of what his hype is, these cards are going to hold some decent long-term value, I feel.
Yeah, and so we're talking about Jaw and his sneaks. What about his cards?
Yeah, I kind of threw this up there just to kind of get your guys' opinion. So obviously his cards are tanking, but have they hit rock bottom? Was my question to you guys. I kind of think whenever they do announce his suspension or whatever's going to go on with him, I think that's going to, that's going to be another drop. So if they sink to, levels we didn't even think they were going to go to, do you guys just buy one just based off just take a flyer on it?
Who I'm trying to think of another player in any sport that has had a similar situation happen to him.
Yeah, I was trying to do the same.
And with the gun, the interesting thing about the gun deal to me is it's not illegal to carry a firearm and to show the firearm. You know what I mean? If he was doing something illegal, I mean, there's people that would get caught with, underage girls, or they beat their wives, or vice versa. And I mean, obviously that's illegal, but him having a registered firearm under his name and being videotaped with it is not technically illegal. Is it a good look to, when you're a role model to children and things like that, and portraying that you're a gangster? No, it's not. But I've thought about that a lot last couple of days. It's like, it's not a good look, but he's not doing anything illegal.
Do you think the fact that it was like such a short period of time between the first offense and now it's kind of like, dude, like
shit.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as collecting wise, like I'm like risk averse, right? So I'm like, shame on me, fool me once, shame on you, or whatever that saying is. I'm not gonna buy any Jaw. I just don't. I don't see enough upside at prices I've seen it dip down to where I'm like comfortable with it. I'd rather invest in other players. Personally,
I paid $900 a year ago today, almost to the date, when they pushed the Warriors, and I think it was the second round of the playoffs. I spent little over $900 for an SGC 10 Jaw Silver, because I just thought he was gonna take it to. Yeah, I mean, you look at him. I mean, you saw him this year, and he came back. I mean, he had like that 22-point fourth quarter against the Lakers in Game 5 or Game 3, and he did whatever he wanted to.
That's what intrigues me about him is like, the talent is there. Can he turn it around? He obviously has the basketball talent, but he needs to get his mind right. And if he can do that, I mean, I wasn't buying Jaw cards to begin with, but now that they're tanking, I'm kind of just I'm actively just looking at recent sales and stuff just to see how far this stuff really goes. And if it gets to my buying point, I wouldn't mind just taking a flyer on a pretty nice Jaw card.
Here's what's going to happen to save Jaw, in my opinion. He's and this is documented. You can read about it. He has two friends that are absolute shitbirds. Mm-hmm. But the one that got kicked out of the stadium, the arena forever this year, and everything else, something Pack is one of his childhood best friends. But here's the thing: Memphis is a pretty rough city. Memphis is the gang culture, the rap, the whole 9 yards. It's intertwined. I'm curious to see, like, did they trade him to someone like Utah? Someone like Oklahoma City? Well, no, seriously, where the culture isn't the same. Because I just don't know if it works in Memphis anymore. I think Memphis is going to have to do something. They can't take the risk of him continuing. That's where he's, I don't know. He has so much talent. It sucks to see that. I mean, they're talking about a lengthy suspension this time around. Yeah. I mean, 30 games. I've heard 30 games. I've heard a half the season.
You're going into the offseason too, so cards are going to drop anyway. So now that I think about it, Ralph, you might be onto something. Maybe not now, but maybe even further into the summer.
Yeah, I was thinking about whenever they announce his suspension. Like, let's just say he gets half the season. Mm-hmm. Everybody who was hoping, he might get 30 days, he might get 15 days. They're just gonna dump everything because they don't want to take. They've already lost. They don't want to take more losses. They're just gonna get rid of it. They don't want the headache. So that was my thinking. Is that the time to buy?
Good transition, Ferd. Tatis Jr. I mean, a year and a half ago at this time, everyone in the world was dumping Tatis Jr. cards and had horrible things to say. now that he's absolutely lighting the ball on fire again, what are you seeing?
I think personally with Tatis, he's young enough to like make a dumb mistake. But my fear with Tatis, which I'm still hesitant as well, is that if he does roids again and gets caught again, he's done. I mean, he's not done playing baseball, but he's just done collectible wise. He is young enough though to kind of for time to kind of pass, you know.
Do you buy the ringworm medication story? And here's the thing: I know a lot of people don't, especially these Dodger fans. I can look at Ralph. I can see it.
I put this Tatis segment. I put this one together. I wanted to talk about Tatis.
Do you? You look at his physique, and I mean, he's not overly muscular, you know. And I don't know. Like, I genuinely. You've heard those stories the last couple of years where they say that there's the tainted meat, that certain meats in Mexico and southern parts of the in South America, they have different, you know, what's the right word? Different medications and different things, you know, antibiotics and different treatments for cattle, and it can leach over into the meat and cause false positives. I don't know. Like I said, I think, and that was his excuse, was right. He said it was for ringworm medication.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I'd like to believe him for the simple fact is just how talented he is and how good he was for baseball. I mean, do you remember how exciting?
Dude,
yeah,
so awesome. Yeah, he's so fun to watch when he's on.
So I got a front row seat to Tatis when the Dodgers had it was kind of a back-to-back series, home and away, and his swing, his cuts, he definitely looks like he's getting that stroke back. Obviously, he took time off, so it's going to take some time for him to hit at that elite level, but he's not striking out, which is a big plus. He's, you know, when he gets out, he's at least putting the ball in play. So, you know, he has that hand-eye coordination going. So that was my thinking, is like, okay, he's kind of putting it together. His cards are still not at levels that they used to be. I looked up a PSA 10 Bowman Chrome Auto. Last year around this time, his PSA Bowman Chrome Auto was around 4K. One just sold for I think it was like 950. So huge drop off. And I'm not saying his cards are going to dump even lower, but for somebody that was looking to buy a Tatis auto, that's crazy good entry point.
How the Padres
do you
doing?
think if the Padres win a chance, do you think the Padres win a World Series in the next 3 years that erases a lot of this?
I think people will forget about it because people like a good redemption story. Everybody's going to have that, you know, people that don't like the Padres, Dodger fans are going to call him a cheater. But, you know, if he does, if he does come back and he does win a championship, people forget about it right away.
So this is another reason why I'm kind of hesitant too. This is very reminiscent of A-Rod when he signed a big contract. He gets caught for steroids, and his excuse was, I felt the pressure, you know, signing a big contract. And I wanted to, you know, play. And I think people accepted that, right? Tainted him a little bit. Yeah. And then, you know, 4 or 5 years later, plays for the Yankees and he does steroids again. And I don't know, like that's what this reminds me of. He's a little bit young. He's quite a bit younger than A-Rod when A-Rod did his initial like roid situation. But I don't know, like A-Rod's cards went down so big after his second time, and he won a World Series too on top of that. Anyway, it just totally reminds me of that whole situation. Hopefully he doesn't get caught, or hope he doesn't do it again. Hopefully he stays healthy and just plays. But yeah, I just worry that he's going to get caught or do it again for whatever reason.
Yeah, he's playing good baseball. I mean, I think he went 0 for yesterday, but that's kind of been a one-off. But he's been getting it together. He's been playing pretty good. So see where it goes from there.
Yeah, no, good stuff. It's good.
He lit my Cubs up a couple weekends ago.
He did well against the Dodgers too, so that kind of caught my eye.
Dude, I think it's so good for baseball. Honestly, this Padres-Dodgers rivalry that has kind of, you know, been
It's
on
not-
the horizon for the last couple of years. It's not much of a rivalry with the Dodgers fucking own them right now. But when you go and look at the lineups and some of the potentials, I mean, it doesn't have Yankees Red Sox potential, but I think it would be good for baseball if, you know, they go back and forth and have some 7-game series in the playoffs and have some epic stuff, because I mean, that damn lineup of the Padres is just
sick.
holy
it's crazy.
shit.
Yeah.
And then you go look at the pitching lineup that the Dodgers. God, I'm so sad about the Dustin May deal.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
mean,
nice.
it kind of is what it is. He's been injury prone since he's come up, so I mean, it sucks. But at the same time, I'm not shocked as a Dodger fan. So
Dude, when he was in Oklahoma City, he drove
he was.
around in like a 93 short wide Chevy pickup truck, wore fucking cowboy boots and jean shorts everywhere he went. Like he was a cool dude. He was one of those guys I rooted for, and he was throwing so good.
gas.
I mean, he has different kind of stuff when he's on. I mean, he's throwing 96 mile an hour fucking sliders and shit like that. And I mean,
He hasn't had any luck. Do you remember when he got beamed in the head? It's like it's been one thing after another with that guy.
Definitely the Dodgers. Personal opinion is they've had too many arm injuries. They need to do it. They need to have a different program. There's something that needs to be done different in Dodgers. And that's the other thing too, is like all those innings Kershaw's pitched over his career. I mean, that's so sad. Did you hear about Kershaw's mom dying the day before Mother's Day?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he pitched this past week.
Is
I
it?
can imagine.
How many years does he have left on his contract? I mean, is it?
I think he signed like a 1-year deal. So 1 year, 25 million, something like that. But it's not something long. I could be wrong. It could be 2, but it's not a huge long deal. But he wants to retire Dodger, and the Dodgers want him to retire Dodgers. So
yeah,
he deserves it. He's one of those players that he deserves to get the finishes. Because I mean, he went through the farm system, drafted by him, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
I think that there needs to be more of that in sports. I mean, I understand free agency, but there's something about those guys like Udonis Haslem. You know, there's just not a lot of those players that get signed by that team and stay. Yeah. I mean, King, you know, that was the thing is
Kobe, yeah.
You know, like King Griffey Jr. I know we went and played in Cincinnati for those couple years, but man, he's one of those guys that I'd love to seen him finish his career in Seattle.
Dude, he did. Yeah. He came back.
He did that little token deal, but
you know how happy Seattle was when he came back, dude? Because I was like, awesome, man. That we sucked like that year, but just having him back, it felt so like he had this like lame ass single, and I swear the whole crowd like erupted like he had a home run. It was a pretty cool year, but yeah.
Did Jay Buhner finish out with the Mariners?
Yeah. He still lives here. He's on our like he's still on like Home Depot like freaking ads around here, and Dan Wilson and Edgar still Edgar owns a house in Bellevue.
Edgar played for the Yankees for a year, didn't he?
No, he played his whole time here.
That was Tino, I think. Tino Martinez.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Tino Martinez. Yeah,
Tino was a badass too, and then we couldn't afford him.
Look at 78's face.
I'm watching.
No, I don't blame you a bit. I think
he's watching the game.
No, he is. I'm able to tell what the score is by his reactions when Denver scores. He looks up.
Dude, I have like 45 text messages. I already know like my buddies are going pissed off.
You have a lot of Laker fans up here too.
I mean, I don't Lakers fans in my circle, man.
Personally, I mean, I enjoy basketball, but I don't really have a dog in the fight. I'm more of a baseball, Dodgers and Raiders. That's kind of what I stick to.
Oh,
what do you think about the Raiders draft?
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, that's a whole.
Who do they draft?
The QB. I like that QB from Purdue.
From Purdue? I don't even know who that.
Yeah, it's O'Connell. Something O'Connell. He's just got that little baby stash.
They got Garoppolo. That's kind of
yeah. I mean,
cool.
Yeah, Raiders. I mean, I'm a Raiders by birth, so I can't really.
That kid out of Texas Tech, if he actually plays, I mean that's the thing. If he played against Oklahoma State, he'd get a sack. He got a sack early on in the game, and then he didn't. You could tell he didn't try very hard for the rest of the game. If they can get him to actually play the whole, what is it? 48 minutes in a football game. Is that right?
I don't know. Probably.
He's got crazy. He's one of those guys. He's 6'7". and he has like 7-foot arm length, and he's good off the ball. I don't know.
I mean, everybody wanted them to draft a quarterback, but it's like all the quarterbacks got taken, I think, earlier than everybody expected, except the one guy that went late in the second round.
Kentucky.
Yeah. Will Levi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Levis.
Is it Levis? I say
He
Levi.
said, I was trying to think, I was like, Levi.
Matt McClain, dude, I can't believe I missed that. You caught that, though,
Doc
right, Trey?
Joe is too. I feel it sucks because Doc Joe is our buddy Doc. He's a Reds fan, and the Reds just suck all the time, and it brings me great joy that every year I get to just talk and shit on the Reds. And then you look and see what they have coming down the pipeline. Like I said, McClain was a stud at UCLA 2 years ago when they drafted him. He's like their 5th-rated prospect. They've already called him up because he's raking at AAA. Then you got Christian Encarnacion Strand, who's literally as nuclear hot as any player. They're probably going to call him up any day. You got Eli Cruz. What's it? Edie Cruz?
Eli De La Cruz.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, they are fucking loaded. Hunter Green.
Cam Collier.
Yes.
They drafted him. That was a great pick. There are 2 shortstops they got from us, Edwin. Gosh, yeah. I mean, they're stacked. They could trade those guys too.
Yeah, I think it's Cam Collier is one of the guys that they drafted. Carlos Jorge is another one, and Leonard Balcazar is the other shortstop. So it's like 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah, three picks. I don't know if they were all drafted this season, but these are the 3 young kids that are playing low A ball that have been pretty good.
Yeah, Reds they did a good job with their farm system, man.
It's exciting to see what teams like Baltimore. We discussed Baltimore. Baltimore is absolutely loaded.
Mm-hmm.
The Reds are loaded. I mean, there's a couple teams that have been historically bad for the last 15 to 20 years that if they actually keep in the trajectory that they're on, they're going to be. I don't know how Baltimore is going to fucking be bad with all the talent that they have coming up with Rutschman and who's a shortstop kid that Gunnar.
Oh shit! Yeah, Gunnar Henderson.
Oh fuck! I know
what you're talking about though. He's like number 1 rated prospect coming into this year.
I don't know if you saw that deal today. I sent you today, but ESPN had an article about the top 10 players, and like from 16-year-olds until the 25-year-olds, they got Jackson Holiday and Jason Dominguez in the same class. They got Ethan Holiday, which is Jackson's younger brother, who's a number 1 rated player in 2025. I mean, I love prospecting. That's one thing I'd love about baseball.
Right?
Yeah.
Is finding out about a 16-year-old Dominican kid that No, I mean seriously.
Seriously. Because out of nowhere,
weighs 125 pounds, but can already hit the ball out of the park. And then they give him $4 million and to see where he's at in 3 years because it's so cool. That's what's great about Bowman. You can buy a box of Bowman and absolutely get nothing, and then you go back and look through your blaster boxes 4 years later, and find hundreds of dollars in value. It's the same thing with Prism. I found a couple days ago, I was going through the 2018-2019 Prism that I bought, the Luka year.
Mm-hmm.
I found 2 Jalen Brunson silver Prisms that I didn't even have. Like I had like a little case that I put all my silvers in. I thought he was such shit that I didn't even put him in the regular silver deal and found him. And I mean, he's one of the better players in that class now.
Yeah. New York, right? Plays for the Knicks.
Yeah, man.
Dude, you've seen. Speaking of that, I should have put that on there. I was going to talk about that. You can get Jalen Brunson PSA 10s right now for $225. If they continue on their trajectory and the Knicks win a championship, you'll get $600, $700, $800 for that card. New York people will blow up. So I think it might be something to look into.
Yeah, he's got the right attitude to be a Knick.
Dude, he's a stud angry. Too. I mean, he controls the game.
Angry, man. He is angry. He doesn't give up. Fucking Julius.
He's got like that
Randle,
90s New York.
I missed those
vibe, right?
Those
like John Starks.
Pacers.
Starks with the Sparks, man. That was my
Pacers Knicks series, man, were the best to watch, man.
Mason with the wandering eye.
Yeah, Mason.
Oklahoma State boy, John Starks. That left-handed dunk he did against the Bulls, one of the greatest dunks in playoff history.
I got that on a jacket.
He dunked on the whole Bulls team with his
the whole
hand.
Bulls, all 3 of them. Fucking there.
Heisman Trophy winner Charlie Ward.
Yeah. That was a little bit of a moving screen on that, but fuck it, he did it.
These are just some random 2000s vinyls I found when I was driving on the way to Eastern Washington this weekend. We were listening to some old school like vinyl or punk or whatever, and I found Something Corporate. I don't know if you guys know that band, but they're an old 2000s band. Okay, so this was opened $500 for that vinyl. It was like one of their first albums. I think it was their first. No, it may have been their second album. I can't remember. And then that Blink 182 went for $2K. I guess it's a
Cat.
Yeah, it has red eyes on it.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that, Ralph?
Not the one with the red eyes. I know the album. I know it's like one of their. I know it's one of their first albums, but it's one of their more popular first albums.
Yeah, supposedly there's one with red eyes that's like limited to 500 copies or something.
I didn't know.
Supposedly it came out like in the mid 90s or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the thing
just
about
comment with the 90s, the vinyl in the late 90s, early thousands. It was
Blink 182 is back on tour right now, right? Am I making shit up?
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Do you think that has a little bit of the nostalgia wave from what's going on with them?
Yeah. I think it
does.
Just
in terms of like the numbers, production numbers.
Yeah.
Vinyl back then was very low.
Early 2000s too, is that right? 78?
Yeah. 90s, late 90s to early thousands, it was low, and then it started going up in the mid thousands, and now where it's at, right? So as a guy who used to listen to punk, it was about the sevens, man. It wasn't about the LPs. It was about the sevens.
But it's like all this stuff.
Go buy the fucking sevens, man.
Dude, I feel like 78 points is like fucking the Forrest Gump of collectibles. He's been into hip hop. He's been into punk. He's like, he has cool stories about everything that we talk about.
I honestly think 78. Are you sure you're not from LA? Because you remind me of everybody that I've run into in LA.
No. Dude, but then he's got like the fucking New York rings and shit like that. He's got all kinds of
I used to work at a record store. Like I worked at a comic store, a record store, a sneaker store. I did retail when I was a kid going through university and shit in high school. And a video store. That was my first job. And a skate store. Yeah. I did retail. And we worked at like I worked at the only kind of underground hip hop vinyl store, and we brought in funk, and we had next door to us was like the old punk store. Rock and punk and shit. And as a guy who used to be into hip hop, you go look for your samples and you go to the store next door, and they had a secondhand section, and on the wall they'd have all the old sevens and shit like that, Yeah. But vinyl was very low back then. That was a thing. Like, even back then, like to get an LP of, a certain band, because it was really low production numbers. It was a big thing. But it was mainly the sevens, because you get the B side that wasn't on the LP. That was a thing. Gotcha.
Yeah, cool. I figured I'd just bring it up to you guys. I just thought it was, random. Like we don't really talk about like punk a lot and this time period as well. And so I just thought it was really interesting to see those prices.
Yeah, that's Something Corporate. And I think that Yellow Card, those have been repressed.
Okay. Yeah, I know the Yellow Card has.
Yeah, and I think Something Corporate came out this week. If not this week, the week before.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only thing I think, and I mentioned it to when Vinny was on the show a couple of weeks ago, is that I think the record labels have figured out, vinyl sells, and they're pressing it, they're pressing a ton of them. So
okay, this is just something I talked about on my show on Sunday with John Smith. He is like the manga like expert, Pokemon. He like blew my mind on Sunday. I don't know if you guys caught the show that we did on Sunday, but he talked about, I just thought this was just really curious and just made me like just think. So he considers these cards the Infinity Stones of Pokemon. They're super low print. The only get them was you had to take pictures on this old game from like 1999 called Pokemon Snap. Have you guys heard of that game
yeah,
before?
I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah. So Nintendo was like,
that I don't know.
Nintendo was like, send in go play the game, take pictures of Pokemon, and then send it to us, and we'll judge who has the best pictures. And so not only are these like super low print, but they're almost, I don't want to say exclusive, but you had to play the game to get them. You couldn't like not play the game and not get these cards, but they go for huge amounts of money. I took two examples of the main two, but there's only like 13 of these Pikachus, and the last one sold a year ago for 300K.
Holy shit.
And then that Charmander you see there's only like 15 of them, and that sold for 100K. And there's like 7 other ones that go for like 6 figures or like maybe like 50K or something like that. But just really different type of thing. I'm not saying go look out for these cards. I don't know, but like none of them are graded. They're not in the greatest condition, I guess, when they went the secondary market. But
These
this
were
is something
raw?
I thought was really, yeah, those are raw.
Oh shit.
Kami.
That kind of reminds me of that Juan Soto that sold for 100K. It was given away by Topps in a Twitter giveaway, and it was a Bowman first auto. There's only there's not a ton of them, but it has like a blue border. I don't know. It might have been last week or a couple weeks ago. Sold for over 100K.
Yo, with those prices, those sold prices for raw, or
they were raw. They weren't graded. I don't know if they were in like the U.S. or like where they were sold, but yeah, and they don't really go for sale very often. It's one of those one-off type of things. But anyway, I don't know if we had time, but if you guys want to do like my little segment at the end, what's that? What you got there?
Oh shit, that's a good Kami. Fucking holy smokes!
It's an older one. I never got it.
That's fucking badass, dude.
I was hoping they're gonna reissue it, but it doesn't look like they're doing it, so I backtracked.
Did you watch the Dragon? You said you haven't watched any of the Super stuff, have you?
I haven't watched it.
Dude,
I've watched most of Z, but I haven't finished it.
He has one of the greatest scenes in Super during the Tournament of Power. It literally, it'll make you tear up for real. I'll send it to you. When we get done.
Cool. This is my this or that segment. Just so it's kind of a market report, but kind of a different take on it. So these collectibles range from $100. So these two went for $100 this past week. Which one would you guys buy of these two? And do you know what these are? Yes,
Agents of Atlas.
Third print, very low print. Yeah, this went for $100 raw. I'm always on the lookout for this book. And then Metal Gear Solid 3. I don't know what would you guys go for?
Well, you
I feel
sold
like I
me
had
on
that Atlas one, so I'm getting that Metal Gear Solid.
You sold me on the new Iron Fist on one of your very first shows you did with old Pickles, and I like. I don't know. Metal Gear Solid 3 is probably going to do really, really well too. But at the same point in time, I think that's where Marvel's going with the Asian representation. I think some of the stuff that they discussed, and it makes sense for that market to blow up. So, and especially the low print run. If you said that's a third print, I mean, how many people were buying new Agents of Atlas when this came out, much less the third print. So I guarantee there's a lot less of those than there are Metal Gear Solid 3s.
Yeah. By you 78.
That's true. There's definitely less of that book than of the game. But I don't think people are going to give a shit about the Asian representation, man.
I don't know, man.
You don't. It's a new character. It seems a bit shoehorned, man. I don't know. Just looking at what's happened with the Monkey King, Monkey Prince in DC and things like that, it hasn't really hit. I don't know. Yeah. Unless there's a really good story for the character.
I really like it.
The story wasn't that great. This new Agents of Atlas story was kind of disposable.
Oh no. This is more for Swordmaster for me. But yeah. That's the only actually out of all the Asian characters, I feel like he has the best potential, and just in general. But
yeah, but is it potential based on a story or the character? That's the thing for me. I'm very much hesitant to get it's a new thing, it's the new flashy thing. It's like if there's a good story or something, then I'm more okay, because there's a foundation that you can build on in terms of another media, going into the movies or shows or whatever it is.
100%.
I'm just very hesitant. We're not going to get. There's not many James Gunns out there that are going to take dog shit comic property, Guardians of the Galaxy, and turn it around to make it one of the best things that's ever been made. So that's my hesitation.
100%. The story is
Metal
awesome.
Gear Solid. If that was pristine condition, that's something people will keep dipping back into.
Yeah.
I am amazed that the kids today aren't playing the new games unnecessarily. They're going back and playing some of the older games on older consoles. That's pretty awesome. That that shows that it's not about the flashiness. They want the content.
Mm-hmm.
They want that
Right.
good story, that good, and the gameplay, things
Gameplay.
like that. They want
Right.
that, which is dope. So that gives me a little hope, promise over the young kids. Content over quality, or they want that. All right. So I like the Metal Gear. I'm a big Kojima fan. I personally have bias towards the Metal Gear franchise, so I'll probably do that.
Cool. Good stuff. Yeah, I was kind of torn between the two, but I went with the Ages of Atlas just because I like the story. And then second,
I like this segment, Ferd. I've
Thanks,
always
man.
liked this segment. This is
Cool.
fun.
Yeah, I figured it'd be kind of different to do like market reports are cool and everything, but just what would you buy? That kind of thing. So I thought this was kind of very random. So this Charizard 4.5 CGC, and I think it's a holofoil. Yeah, it's a holofoil, but it graded a 4.5. This is the first edition versus this sealed Futurama. It's very niche, but Futurama fan paid $500 for it.
I'm rocking that Bender. That's Bender, right?
Is Bender a mug, or is it just a like a
I
head?
think it's just his head.
It looks like a statue.
I don't really know.
It's a bust.
If I have 500, like I said, the Futurama Bender stuff's cool, but I just don't that hollow Charizard every single year is just keeps creeping up every year in value. So
yeah,
a 4.5.
A 4.5 for
maybe not a 4.5.
Yeah, that's what that was weird. Like 4.5, right? So it's kind of tough one.
Everyone's got a 4. Like I don't know cards well, but 4.5 seems like a really low grade. That most kids, most people, if you were a kid and you had it as a kid, you could probably grade it and get a 4.5, right?
Right. Yeah. I just thought
plastic sleeve.
And the fact that it was CGC, I thought was even more because like PSA is the way to go with Pokemon, I believe. I don't
understand that. I thought Beckett, like because of the Jake Paul shit, people were submitting more Pokemon stuff to Beckett. I don't know much about Pokemon cards, so I might be talking out of my ass. So,
but is this considered the Mickey Mantle of Pokemon? Because
I think it is
a 4.5 Mickey Mantle rookie now. That goes for a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Especially those first edition hollows, you know what I mean? Those ones where people they had no idea that they were going to be collectible long term, or kids were probably legit playing them in decks and
or stealing them away from other kids.
Put them in binders.
Yeah,
bullying them, right? So
exactly. All right, my last one for your last 2K.
I already know which one I'm picking up.
Is that Black Canary?
What's that?
Is that first Black Canary?
I believe so. But 2K for a 3.0. I'm going Messi.
That's an old.
Fuck
yeah, I'm picking up that Messi.
Yeah, I chose Messi, but
the Black Canary is hard to find, though. I guarantee you there's a lot more of those Messis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess just as the fact that he stamped his legacy and winning the World Cup, that's kind of why I went the Messi route. And just the worldwide recognition. I mean, he's our current GOAT, quote unquote. Yeah.
Didn't Japan stomp Argentina's ass in the first game of the tournament?
Oh yeah, my brother-in-law was going nuts.
Yeah, and we also fucking wrecked Germany.
That was wasn't it Saudi Arabia?
You might be right. It was one.
Argentina had a shock. They had a shock, but the Japan.
Yeah, I think it was
Germany. That was
they lost to Saudi Arabia, and then they won their final 2 games in the group.
Cool, fun segment.
I like the World Cup's fun. You know what I mean? From the United States up until 12 years ago, World Cup was much of an afterthought. But I mean, World Cup now. I mean, I was faking being sick to miss work to watch games and shit like that. There's just nothing. I'll never forget the moment when Landon Donovan scored against it was Ghana.
Mexico.
No, it was in the World Cup. It was when we got through. No, I think it was
you're talking about I know which one. I know which game you're talking about.
I was at work in a trailer in Durant, Oklahoma, in the middle of nowhere, and I'll never forget that. Like it was just never forget it. It was it was the first time in my life I'd ever been that excited about soccer. And then there's a couple cool YouTube videos that show like the celebrations and like the bars and stuff like that when he scored.
Yeah, it was cool. I rocked my Mexico jersey. Philippines does not. we don't fuck with soccer, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, the
we-
Philippines, Indonesia, like
Yeah. We
adopted
Singapore,
you, Fern. You're
Malaysia,
good.
Vietnam, all these. Yeah, this area here, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong, dude.
I don't know. It's so it's not like it's too hot
It's
because
too
like
hot or
Brazil.
something. People
I
don't give a
don't-
fuck.
I don't
Like,
know.
fucking 90 minutes of this shit. Fuck that.
I know.
I saw the captain go. What's the Guardaro retired from international football a couple days ago.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Mexico? Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's our show, guys. Thanks for
Sure.
joining all you live people out there, all you Laker fans that are celebrating. I can't tell. I don't know.
Pissed. They lost.
They lost. Oh snap. Okay. Cool. Well, that was a fun show. Had a good time.
Nugs and 4.
Nugs and 4. Cool. All right. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Thanks for
Word.
coming out. Have a great night.
Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.